ahead and I've added some real information to this page that we were working on previously. I also added in some divs with a class of content to each of these sections. And the reason why I did that is so that I can push this content over. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to try to add in our styles to style this and see what we can get. And we're going to do it with the CSS Designer just to show you how to use it, and then we can go from there. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to zero out the margins and the padding. So if we were to preview this in the browser, you'll see that we get the default margins and padding on the side and on the top here. So we want to zero that out. And for each one of these sections, I want it to be 100% full width. I want it to have a background color, and I want to center the content and style the fonts. So going back into Dreamweaver, the first thing that I need to do is create a selector. So I'm going to click the plus button here, and this selector for the margin and padding is going to be the star selector. Remember that star means all, so it's going to select everything, and it's going to affect all of the elements. And we want to do padding, and we'll set that to 0. You don't have to add px or anything like that. Whenever you have a 0 value, you don't have to add additional things like pixels or anything like that. The next thing is margin. We also want to set that to 0. So that will zero out the margins and padding. You can see how that affected that. Same thing on the web page. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing we want to do is we want to add in a font here. So I'm going to add in the Montserrat font from Google Fonts. So I'm just going to go to fonts.google.com. And I'm going to look for Montserrat. It's one of their popular fonts. And so I need the regular version. And I'm going to click select this style. And then I also need the bold version. So medium, semi-bold, bold. Select this style. So anytime you select styles, it's going to update this code that you need. And then it tells you exactly how to reference the font with the CSS rules. So I'm just going to select the code that I need and copy that. So regular is 400, bold is 700. Just going to keep that in mind when I'm creating my style sheet. So to add this, what I need to do is add this into the code. So it doesn't really matter too much where this goes, but it should go before my style sheet. So I'm going to just drop a line here and add this in, save the changes. And so looking over at our style sheet that we already have, we have a body font style. So I'm going to change that eventually, but for now, let's go back. So I'm going to add a selector for the body. And then the properties for the body. The first thing I want is the font family. And for font family, what I want to do is put in Montserrat, which is the name of the font, followed by a comma, and then sans serif. And that will affect all of the fonts on the page. You can see that now everything is in that particular font. I do want to go back to this body H1, and I want to change this. So I need to trash that, and then I'm going to go back. And so I don't actually have to, I just needed to trash that. So now this is in Montserrat. It still got the blue face that I wanted. Okay, the next thing I want to do is target all these content divs, and then I'm going to center them and give them a width. So going back here, I'm going to click on the selector. The selector this time will be a class, so I need to type in dot. Notice that Dreamweaver recognizes the classes that are in my file. So I'm just going to hit enter. And then the first thing I need to target for the properties is the width. And the width is going to be 60 2%. So this time I do have to provide it with a value. And notice that the browser here, the inline browser is updating that. And then I need to center it. So I'm going to set the margin to 0 auto, and that will center it. And then for the text that's inside of the divs, we want to center that too. So text dash align, center is what we want. And that will align the text to the center. Next thing we want to do is add a little space underneath the heading here. There's not a lot of space there, so again, I'm going to click plus on this. It's going to be an H2. And then the properties is going to be margin dash bottom, or actually padding dash bottom. And we'll give it a unit of 1em. 1em is equal to like 16 pixels, depending on what your settings are. And that will give that a little bit more breathing room for all those H2s. For the header, I need some more breathing room up here in the header section. So we're going to add padding to the top, bottom, left, and right. So clicking on the plus for the selector, I need to target the header. And then for the properties, what I'm going to do is target the padding. And the padding can have 4 values, top, right, left, and bottom. But if you can combine them too. So if I say 60 pixels and 40 pixels, so the 60 pixels will go to the top and bottom. The 40 pixels are on the left and on the right. And those don't matter too much because everything's centered, but just putting that in there. Now the sections are all really tight. They're really close together. So I'm going to update that. So the selector here would be section. And then the properties on that, again, would be padding. And I'm going to do the same thing. 60 pixels, 40 pixels. Just to give that more room. So that should breathe out the sections, giving it more room. All right, next we can go to, we have a section called info, a section called products, and a section called services. They're all going to have a different background color. And depending on the background color, it's going to affect the color of the text, which is going to be the case in this first section called info, which is this top section here. So for the selector, again, I'm targeting a class this time, so I'll type in .info. Dreamweaver recognizes all the classes in the file. Just hit enter on that. The property that I want to target here is the background color. Notice that you get a drop down for all the background elements. So I can just scroll through them and hit enter on the one that I need. So the color that I want is 1B70A6. That'll give this nice blue color, but the text is a little dark on there. So what I want to do is target the text and change the color of the text within that section. So I'm going to click on the properties plus and type in color. And I'm just going to make the text white. Now you can use 3 values, and that will be a shortcut to represent white. So instead of typing FF, you can just use a shortcut F for each individual color, RGB, and that will fit that in. So that's looking good. Now we can go to the product section. So again, I need a new selector. And the selector is going to be products. Notice, again, Dreamweaver just recognizes that. And then the properties, again, we're going to target the background color. And then the color here is 50F2E2. And that's a lighter color, so I don't have to change the text color here. And then my last section is services. So again, I need a selector for .serve services. And then the property is going to be the background color again. And the color this time is going to be 0 E3D59, which is a dark color. So again, we'll have to change the color of the text. So I'm going to target color and then just make that white. Again, using the shortcut 3Fs will be fine. For the footer needs a lot more space, and then it needs a background color. So we're going to target with the selector. We're going to target the footer. And then the properties, again, here background color. And the background color this time is going to be a dark color, so 0D, 0D, 0D. That should be like almost black. Yep. So that means our text is disappearing, so we want to make it white. So I need to color the color and use our shortcut to make that text white. And then we need to add some breathing room here, so I'm going to click on plus sign for the properties again and add in padding. Again, we'll add 60 px, 40 px. Okay, so that's adding all those styles, and let's save the work that we've done, and let's go to the style sheet that's attached to this file, and you'll see that Dreamweaver input all the styles that we created into this file. May not be in the order that we wanted, but it's the way that we want it to appear. Notice that it captured everything, the classes, it broke up the lines, so it did all this work for us in the background. If I were to go to the browser and take a look at the page that we were working on, and I'm going to have to refresh it here, and now you can see the work that we did. And this should scale down well. So if I scale this down for mobile or tablet, you can see what's going on here. I'm going to need probably a media query to control all the extra padding. There's the 40 pixels on the right and the left. So, but we're getting closer to an actual web page, and we did all that with Dreamweaver and using the CSS Designer that's in Dreamweaver.